welcome back to the Whatnauts Reactor Core number 62. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, how's it going?
I'm going good, Kyle. How are you?
I am doing pretty good. I'm excited. I really like I haven't felt this level of excitement to talk about something in like forever.
Right.
We're here to talk about season 1 of Yellowjackets. God, I'm so excited. It feels like Lost all over again, and I'm so happy.
Right, this is the closest we've come to like summoning back that magic.
Yeah. I mean, there's been shows that I've liked just as much as I've liked Lost, but never in the same way. Right. And this just like from the get-go was just like, oh, this is like the spirit of it's the ghost of Lost's past. I love it. It's great.
It's like Showtime looked over at my Hulu account and said, "What are you watching? Lost and Pin 15? What if we put those two together for you? What if we gave you a couple 90s girls in a remote survival situation?"
There you go. Yeah, so that's what we're here to talk about this time. We started watching this basically at the beginning of the month here, just like a week or two ago, and was just like, oh, we have
last
to
week
talk about this. Yeah,
we binged this. We pulled this together in like less than 10 days because somebody put up the signal in the sky that said, here's a thing that's like Lost. And Kyle and I, we go down our fireman poles, we change into our costumes, and here we are. We're ready.
There you go. Indeed. Speaking of costumes, you're looking very 90s.
I thought I'd put on some 90s. I got my middle part. I have my choker necklace. I've got my very shiny lip gloss. I do what I can.
I'm just in neon lights. I have like a planet like I'd always have. I'm in a dad hat. I don't know.
Sure.
It's good. It's fun. Okay, so I think you can tell by our excitement how we feel about the show spoiler free. I freaking loved this. I thought it was fantastic. It can almost do no wrong in my eyes. That's not true, but it's one of those things that I like so much that I'm willing to forgive some of the more like eye-rolly moments. There was a couple of them in there that I had that I was just like, oh my God, really? But I'm so excited about the other things in this show and the mysteries and the questions that I have and the things that I'm just baffled by that I kind of just gloss right over them, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm willing to forgive so much with this. So keep that in mind. But I think that is my like spoiler free how I felt, what I thought.
Yeah. Not everything in this show totally hits for me. There are some choices it makes where I'm like, okay, all right. I accept your terms. Let's move on. But what does hits hard. There are some other choices in the show that I really like. Overall, I find the show fascinating, compelling. Even when I'm sort of puzzled by what it's trying to do, I am along for the ride. I'm going to stick this one out.
Absolutely. So season 1 is all out now. You guys can go watch it. It's on Showtime. However you want to acquire Showtime, you can go do that and binge all of it right now. I know I mentioned this show to my parents, and my dad was like, I think I saw that on Pluto TV.
Yes.
And I think they were, at least for one day, showing the pilot just like nonstop all day. I don't know if they went on to show the other ones.
That's how I watched it. Yeah, when I first heard of the show, I went to Pluto and you were able to watch the first episode free. And that's when I decided, yes, I'm invested in this enough to get Showtime for the month.
Good stuff. Yeah. And I think if you haven't had Showtime before, there's a free month trial that you guys can do. Now would be the perfect time to get that. I guess also if you're a fan of Dexter, I think Dexter is on there. And
yes.
yeah. So there you go. But that's where you can go get the show. We both thought it was fantastic, despite some choices it may have made, but we liked it so much.
It is a wild ride. It is always entertaining.
Absolutely.
I don't think you're going to watch Yellowjackets and ever be bored. Like, this is a show that I'd watch it, and then I'd lie awake at night, like as I'm falling asleep, and I'd just ponder things. I think there's so much for your brain to chew on. Yeah.
Yeah. I will also say at the top that the show covers some heavy topics. Things can get pretty gruesome and disgusting and violent and scary. So I think by the nature of that, they're just general content warning. I don't know what exactly we will all get into with that, but there is some nasty things in this show as well. So be aware of that. But so normally what we do here on the Reactor Core is we will get in, like once we're in spoiler section, we'll kind of like beat for beat do some broad brush strokes of the plot as we go along as a jumping off point for us to talk about the show. I think this time we're going to opt to do like a plot, like just a brief plot synopsis, maybe some extra details in there to kind of summarize season 1. But I think, Melissa, you mentioned right before we started recording, we just need some room to like be free with this one and kind of go wherever. So this really will be like, once we get past a certain spot, it will be like no holds barred, all spoilers. Just there you go. So we are about to do a plot synopsis. Can we do like, what's the pitch of that? Let's do that.
Okay.
First. Let's at least have the like spoiler free. What's the like 30-second pitch?
In the year 1996, a high school girls' soccer team is on their way to the national championships when their plane crashes in the Canadian wilderness. They have to survive there for 19 months. And the show follows that, and it follows modern day, the lives of the few survivors who managed to get out.
25 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. So with that, I guess the one thing like I said on the captain's log, you have to say, in those 19 months that they were out there surviving, they turned cannibalistic. So it's like one part Lost, one part Lord of the Flies, one part maybe a few other things.
A lot like The Terror. Reminded me of that. Maybe just because that's also in Canada.
Also, I guess something that I was not aware of that my dad mentioned when I mentioned this to him, something like this kind of happened in real life to, I think, like a rugby team. They got stuck in the mountains and had to
they got stuck
cannibalistic to survive.
Yeah, I watched a video on this week from the channel Weird History on YouTube because I was also aware of this and wanted to know it in a bit more detail just so I could see if there were elements that the show was borrowing from. Yeah, it was I forget exactly when, before we were adults, before our lifetimes maybe. Yeah, in South America, a rugby team on a plane, their plane crashed into the Andes. And I don't know how long they were there. The video made it seem like 2 months, maybe something like that. But yeah, they're all the way up there. No plants grow there. There's no animals. They eat all the food that's on the plane. And then they look at the, their fellow flight members who had to die in an avalanche, and they did what they could to survive, and then like 2 guys walked out of there. They hiked for like 11 days. And they were able to go get help.
That's wild. Wild stuff. But yeah, so this show is pretty crazy. Go check it out. Highly recommend it. It is binge-worthy TV. We put a lot of hard work into the shows that we make, and yes, we make multiple different shows here at the Whatnauts, and we'd love it if you would check them all out. You can find out more information on our website at thewhatnauts.com, as well as your favorite podcasting platform of choice. When you type in the Whatnauts, all of our shows will pop up right there. Just don't forget to give us a nice rating and review if you like the shows. If you want to support what we do here at The Whatnauts, patreon.com/The Whatnauts is the best place to do that. You can support us for as little as $1 a month. You can get all kinds of exclusive content at the $3 tier. You can also get a shout out and thank you on all of our shows at the $5 tier. You can support us on Twitch by subscribing to our channel at twitch.tv/The Whatnauts, and we would love to have you all join us for our live streams and talk with us in the chat. And lastly, we have merch. If you want to grab yourself a shirt or a sweatshirt or a mug or something else, go to thewhatnauts.com/store to pick up some merch today. But that said, I am about to put up our spoiler alert thing, so from here on out, we're gonna get into spoilers. We'll do a little bit more plot stuff once we're in spoilers, but yeah, from this part out, spoilers. Bam, there you go. Spoiler alert has been posted. So, we already did the pitch. Let's dive a little bit more into the plot real fast. Here. So, the girls' team crashes in the Canadian wilderness. They are stuck there for 19 months. What we see in season 1 is they end up finding this mysterious cabin that's out in the woods, and they go up there, and that's kind of where they've been camping out. They are trying to learn to hunt. They have one rifle, and thankfully the cabin had a bunch of ammo that happened to fit that gun too. So
yeah, it's the one line they kind of hand wave away where one of the girls is like, they're doing target practice to see, okay, who's good enough that they get the rifle. Like, we are selecting our hunting team. We're not just taking volunteers. Who's actually going to be the best at this? And one of the girls is like, why are we spending all these bullets on target practice? And the assistant coach is like, oh, the cabin's stock full of them. You know, this guy was like some sort of a doomsday prepper. Like, that's the one allowance they give themselves is, don't worry about bullets. Like, bullets aren't going to be a problem. Just don't think about it anymore.
Kind of one of the eye roll moments, but it's still just like, all right, like, I understand it. Thank you for like making me not have to think about that of just stuff like that. You know, so yeah, they are trying to learn to hunt and forage and all of that stuff, but weird things just keep happening. They see this symbol that's been carved into the trees and in the floor on this cabin, and really, really weird things happen. One girl starts sleepwalking. One is maybe possessed by a spirit. There is a wolf attack, and one girl almost dies. There's some crazy stuff going on. They do find a plane, very similar to Lost in that regard, and they try to send one girl out on the plane, and the plane explodes. So like, they're still stuck there. Yeah, and it seems like the land that they're on wants to keep them there. Like there's when they first find this like forest or something in the forest. We're not sure. When we first find this old Cessna plane buried in the woods that they can tell belonged to the old man whose skeleton they find in the cabin. One of the girls sees all these vines wrapped around the wheels of the plane and says, this place doesn't want him to leave. It won't want us to leave. Yeah, exactly. So spooky stuff is happening. And then they eventually decide to kind of have a party. It's kind of like their homecoming, but at this point, there's been like so many bad things that they changed the name to Doom Coming, in which they're like, look, we brought our dresses, let's cook some food, we're probably not gonna survive this, so let's just have a fucking party, right? And they accidentally put a bunch of mushrooms in the food that was meant to poison someone. That's a whole different story. But
don't worry about the poisoning. We'll come back to poisoning.
Yeah, we'll get there. But yeah, they end up like most of them end up tripping on shrooms, and this is when it starts to get real Lord of the Flies. Things just go really, really wrong, and I think the stuff that happens because of that is the start to all of the like what we eventually see that or what we know that they will form factions and turn cannibalistic and do all of that stuff. But that's basically what's happening like in 1996 in the forest.
I want to lay out a little bit of timeline too. The first thing we see in the show is it's winter. We're out there in the woods. This girl who we only see from behind, so we're not exactly clear which girl it is. She's running through the woods. She's screaming. You can tell she thinks she's being pursued by something. She runs into like a tiger pit, falls through a camouflage into a pit onto a bunch of pointy sticks. She has been murdered. And then you see the girls in like these, and like, of course, they're wearing furs to survive the Canadian winter, but there's something about like all the fur and hide get-ups they're wearing that feel extra eerie. And they have slaughter the girl.
It's like a chainmail looking mask with antlers and stuff. It's very just like, this seems like a cult. Like, what is happening here?
They cut up the girl, they serve her, and when they have their dinner, it does feel like some sort of a spiritual event. Very culty. So we get that flash forward. The plane crashes. The girls mentioned that they're like missing prom for this. So the plane crashes in like April or May. They're there for 19 months, which is one of my favorite details of this story. Gotta say that up front. That's like, so long. So many things can happen in 19
really
months. I would lay awake at night just thinking about 19 months. But with that timeline, we see this first scene happening in winter. We don't know if that's the first winter or the second winter. Did they resort to this shortly before they were rescued? Or was this like, no, we've been here like 6 months. This is where we're at already.
Yeah, wild stuff is happening.
In 1996, I think we only get as far as like early to mid fall. I think they have their doom coming at approximately high school homecoming time. So it's like maybe October.
Yeah.
So like that's how far we are in their survival storyline in season 1. Okay.
Yeah, which I have some questions about that too. Exactly. So in modern day time, in 2021 is when most of the show takes place, which is 25 years later. We are catching up with a few of the survivors. One of the main ones is Shauna, who is now just kind of middle-aged soccer mom in a like dead-end marriage. Just like it's such a stark contrast from what we like, from what the show like starts out as and shows you like right at the start. So it is interesting to just be like, how did they get back to this? What is going on? I want to say also, not literal soccer mom. It seems like all the girls have soured on soccer. Soccer is really not important past like episode 2. Yeah. But yeah, so we start catching up with a few of these survivors. One of them is running to be a state senator. One is a nurse, and a couple of them start getting blackmailed. They receive this mysterious postcard with the symbol that they had seen out in the woods, and they're asking for $50,000, but they're being blackmailed because these survivors have never truly told their story and what happened to them while they were out there. They've given enough to be like, yes, it was a traumatic experience. We'd rather not talk about it. But that's kind of it. And the survivors seem to have enough of a pact to know that, like, hey, under no circumstances will we be talking about this. However, they've all kind of gone their separate ways. They're not really in contact with one another until the show starts. And yeah, we learn that some of them are still dealing with the trauma in different ways, and things seem to be carrying over in a weird way. That's very vague, but that's kind of the plot line, is that they they're still coping with this. Now they're being blackmailed. They're slowly starting to come together, and one of the survivors has died. I guess we should say that they think he's been murdered. They're trying to piece it all together. They seem to think it's all one big mystery. I think us as viewers know it's like maybe 3 or 4 smaller things all happening at the same time. But that's kind of it.
Yeah. And then we also get a couple flashbacks to some of the girls when they were younger. But it's not as consistently structured as Lost is, where it's like, it's a Hurley episode. You will see 3 or 4 flashback scenes for Hurley that illustrate a particular tale in his past.
God, I miss Hurley. Hurley's so good. Anyways.
You must always think of Hurley. In times when you need strength, Hurley is there.
Indeed. So yeah, that's kind of the plot of the show. And I've just been nonstop thinking about this show. There's so many mysteries. I think the show does a really, really good job of answering things you probably need to know to make season 1 interesting, with giving you enough to be like, God, I cannot wait for season 2. But it's also not so overwhelming. I mean, maybe it is. So I took a bunch of notes and stuff here.
Yeah,
I'm going to see if I can
taken notes.
Show it on screen. I
have you're
notes
prepared.
And questions and so much stuff.
I had to seriously. These are all questions that I have. Okay.
I could read this off and it would take me an hour to read them off. I scrolled 7 times on my phone.
Let's start here. I think the show is a wonderful cast of characters and a wonderful cast of performers. Which girl was your favorite? That's my first question.
Ooh, God, that's a tough one. I think I have to say Christina Ricci as Misty Quigley, older. God, she is incredible in that role. And
a powerhouse.
Let me see. I need to look up the actress who plays her when she's younger, because they both do phenomenal.
They're great,
and they are. It's sad that we probably won't get to see them in a scene together because they're playing the same character.
Yeah,
but they are spot on. They must have they must have gone into a room by themselves to be like, all right, what is this character's ticks? And they both just get them down perfectly, the way that
the
Misty
glasses push. Yes,
exactly.
The exact maneuver of pushing her glasses
her
up.
whole hand to push her glasses on the side, back onto her face. It's never the one finger up the bridge of the
She's not
nose
a cool
to do it.
anime
It's
guy. No.
It's her whole hand to touch the side. She doesn't grab it, but it's she just pushes that corner in to like make I don't know, but it's just oh god, it's so good. They nail it. So yeah, I have to say Christina Ricci is phenomenal
That was
in this.
a twist for me at the end of episode 1. And I don't think it's a twist that the show built in. When I was Googling the show just to find out, like, oh, Yellowjackets, it's on Showtime. How do I get Showtime? How many episodes in are we? How long is the season going to be? I just saw her in like the list of a couple actors. And you start the show. You start the show in like 1996. You're following these girls when they're young. And I was looking at Jackie and thinking, oh, I bet maybe Christina Ricci's playing the older version of her. And then we get to her at the end of the episode and she's got the name tag on that says Misty. And I'm like, whoa, we're that invested in Misty? I'm excited for this.
Yeah.
This show spends...
So I just have to say, Teenage Misty is played by Samantha Hanratty. So yeah, bravo. Amazing performance.
Yeah. The only one of the teens I recognized is Thaisa, because we just saw her in The Leftovers, which was another reason I wanted to watch the show. I loved her in The Leftovers. She was so good. And she doesn't...
She was fantastic,
yeah, for various plot reasons, her character's not in it very much. So I'm like, good, I get to see, more of this performer doing her thing. I think my favorite girl was Laura Lee.
Okay.
I like throwing a lawful good in there. I like a character of faith whose faith is tested. I think she's very interesting for the time she's here. And her death is fascinating. That's a very interesting choice, but I am sad that we didn't get to see her continue down this survival journey. And I also love Van. And I was bummed when it looked like Van was going to die. And I think rescuing Van is one of my favorite choices that the show does. One episode ends with you think she's dead. Like she's like the first casualty here. She's the boon of the show. And then the next episode starts with, no, I know you thought that like a wolf totally killed her, like ripped half her face apart. The same side of her face that was like all scratched up when she's trying to get out of the plane. Like she's got this motif of being injured in like the same area.
On that side. Yeah.
Poor Van. But yeah, the next episode begins with her, like her friends think she's dead. They're just going to burn her body in the woods. And it's her perspective as her eyes are opening. And they're like, oh my God, she's alive. Pull her out of the fire now. She's attacked by a wolf and a fire in like 10 minutes.
God. Yeah, I think the whole cast is really, really fun. The actress that plays Shauna is the actresses that play Shauna, I think, are both fantastic. I think especially the adult version, she's fascinating as an adult. Like one of my favorite characters, but I think
I love Melanie Lynskey. I am so happy that like Melanie Lynskey first build carrying the show.
Yeah, and the teenage version, I think, really, really shined, especially in the finale with the more emotional stuff. Like, the character is just starting to come into her own. It's like she's just starting to be the character that we see the adult version starting to revert back to, if that makes sense. Like there's this version of Shauna that we haven't truly seen yet.
Yeah.
And we're getting hints. It's like they're both, it's like, all right, two Shaunas are heading in the same direction at like 50 miles an hour, and they meet in the middle.
This is the situation with all of them. All of the 4 girls we're following, Shauna and Thaisa and Misty and Natalie. They're all 2 trains heading towards each other.
I see. I don't get that as much from the other characters, like especially with Ty. Like Ty seems like she's managed to hide it, but is also something that she necessarily can't control. Like her, like she's the one that sleepwalks and stuff like that. Whereas Shauna it feels like, especially when she was younger, she had to learn to stand up for herself, and she ended up making the choices that brought her to this character that we're just starting to see. Whereas the adult version of Shauna has just tried to completely leave it behind and is slowly but surely just reverting back to this, just realizing that she needs to start standing up for herself. She needs to do it, and she needs to, she starts making similar choices, and it's just this reversion, but in a weird way. Like she's like, her character's not getting worse, she's getting better by reverting back.
Yeah, to her when she was at her most powerful, at her most self-reliant, at her most ferocious. Yeah.
Right. I do have to say, I'm not sold yet. That's what I'll say. I'm not sold yet on the adult version of Nat. I'm not vibing with that performance. I get it.
Yeah.
And I think it's good choices, but it's just not a personal favorite, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like Juliette Lewis. I do like what she's doing, but there is a larger gap between young Natalie and old Natalie, partially because I think those actresses look less like each other than the other pairs of actresses we've got. And she's gone through so many drugs and rehab, and that does sort of affect the adult performance. Yeah, I like Natalie, sense, but I like Natalie, but there's so much stuff happening in this show that sometimes the show will really invest itself in like Natalie and Travis. And I'm like, I don't hate Natalie and Travis. I think it's fine, but like there's a million other things. This is like 12th on my list of priorities. And every episode it's like Natalie and Travis are arguing again. And I'm like, has anybody like tried to set a big signal fire? Did anyone do that?
Did the plane not smoke when it was like, what's going on here? You know, did anyone see the other plane explode?
Like, I have so many questions, and if Natalie and Travis are going to have sex is not in my top list of questions.
Well, that's the thing. I think for the 2021 timeline, it all it starts because of the blackmail, but it also starts because of Travis's death. Suicide, murder, we don't know exactly yet. And so I think because his character dies in that sense, the show does need to make us care about him in some way, or their relationship in some way. I think down the road, we will probably look back on their relationship and feel the same way of just like, man, like Travis, he died. No, that sucks.
Yeah,
like it was good.
I do like Travis, and I think those two young performers have got great chemistry with each other to the point where I think even if they spent less time on that storyline, you could still get as much out of it emotionally.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good actors. I just like, I'm stunned by how magnetic Christina Ricci is in this.
This is legendary. I can't wait for Halloween this year. I'm certain this is a show that's gonna stay in people's brains for the next 10 months. We're going to see so many young and old Yellowjackets. Oh my God. Yeah. That's like every nurse's Halloween costume. They just put a Misty Quigley badge onto their regular scrubs and they like push their glasses up with their entire hand. They keep referring to their pet bird.
God. Good stuff. All right. So I have a shit ton of questions and I just want to
before you start in on the questions, I just want to say that the issues I do have with the show are largely, I think it spends a little bit too much time in certain plot lines. Like yeah, Natalie and Travis are arguing, or
Sure,
adult Shauna's relationship with her boyfriend Adam does ultimately have a payoff, but we spend a lot of time there, so much time there. And I think adult Thais's story is interesting, but she's running for Senate, and it's like weeks before the election, but she's always at home with her wife and son. And I'm like, don't you have somewhere you have to be? In like the second to last episode of the season, she's got like some, the political consultant who's with her. Like, Thaisa, we need to make sure that you take time to actually go vote. Like, the voters need to see you yourself going to the polls. I know this is a tough time for you. And she's like, you don't know anything. And I'm like, yeah, she doesn't, because we've never seen this character before. I like this stuff in Thaisa's home, but the fact that she's immediately running to be elected to Senate and we spend all that time at home is a little baffling to me. Doesn't she have to go into the office or something?
To me, like, I'm more interested in the stuff that's happening in her home. Like, I don't need a political drama with this, but I
am too, but like, it's just a logic thing for my brain where I'm like, why is she always here? Why is she supposed to be busy?
Right, but it, like, especially when the other characters find out that that's what she's doing, she's running for Senate, they're all just like, well, that's not keeping a low profile. Like, that's not what we agreed on. So it seems like it's something she shouldn't be doing. It's something they're not showing. It's just like, why is this even a thing? I think I'm just trying to remember what my my big eye roll moment was. I don't remember exactly, but I do have to say there is some great comedy mixed in with this, just in the line delivery. The way that Misty is like, oh yeah, I registered to vote just so I could get jury duty. Like, what the fuck? Who does that?
I think
she does.
I think the funniest character is Coach. Poor Coach, who's constantly exasperated. So the crash, the girls were on a private charter plane. One of the girls, she has a rich dad, and she's like, this is how he shows he loves me. He buys me things like this. The whole soccer team, like, we're not just getting on a Southwest Airlines. He chartered us our own private plane. So when it goes down, it's just the soccer team, the head coach, his 2 teenage sons, the like assistant coach, I think, 2 pilots and a flight attendant. And who gets out of it is all the girls on the soccer team except for one who burned alive. And the head coach's 2 sons, though he himself died up in a tree, like the pilot from Lost. And the assistant coach, who's like, he's like a guy in his 20s. He loses a leg immediately. And he's this exasperated, sad gay man with one leg. And he's trying to like keep all these girls in line, but he knows they have a point when they're like, what are you going to do to stop me, coach? Like, he really can't do anything.
And he's the only adult too. Like, he's one of 3 guys there, but the other 2 guys, one is too young to really be friends with anyone.
Yeah,
so
it seems like he's like maybe like 13 or 14. Still in middle school.
One is in the mix with the girls, just like same age.
Actual teenage hunk. Yes.
Yeah. And then here's the coach who's like, it's just so awkward for him to be there because he can't really relate to the young, like, high school kid that's the closest to his age, right? And it's all high school girls, so he can't, like, it's weird to get in some kind of like weird romantic relationship. So it's like kind of a good thing today, or like he's gay. Like, but he's just trying to be the voice of reason and be like, all right, girls, like, let's calm down now, let's think. And
Yeah.
while like they actually mention in the show, all of their cycles are syncing up, they're getting emotional all at the same time, they all trip on at the same time, like everything just goes wrong all at once, and he's just useless to stop it.
You've nailed it. It's not just that his situation is tragic, that it's dangerous, that he's out here in the woods. He's got this leg that's been amputated. Seems like it's healing fine, but what if it isn't? What if it gets infected? He's hobbling around on these crutches just made out of sticks. But it's awkward that he's there. It's like he is chaperoning the survival trip.
The girls find the lake and immediately shirts are coming off, pants are coming down, and he's just like, oh, okay, well, let's see. Right. It's a beach.
I'll just sit down here, me and my one leg.
Yeah. So, God. Yeah, and then I think the funniest line of the show has to go to Jeff. What? There's no book club? Just his delivery on that is both like, you can see the gears turning in his head that he actually never thought that there wasn't one. Like, he's not picking up on all of this, and for him to realize that in the midst of it, he's just so like, oh my God, you've been lying to me this whole time, as if like
that too.
That is the most important thing. Yeah, I'm just like, oh my God, like, there's no book club.
Like, even the most mundane thing Shauna is lying to him about. I liked Jeff. I was satisfied with like how rich of a character Jeff ended up being, because he could have just been some like philandering buffoon of a husband, but nah, Jeff has real depth to him.
Yeah, or I was going to say another funny line is also when Misty is at the restaurant and gets a chocolate martini. I'm just like, what? Who gets a chocolate martini? What's going on here?
I love when Misty, with her uncomfortable crush on Coach, is like, but Coach, I love you. And he screams, I don't love you, Misty. I love Paul. And she's like, who's Paul? He's like, it's my boyfriend back home.
God, yeah, it just has it's a dark comedy is what this can be at times. It's really funny. So great stuff. Like we said, this can go from horror to thriller to dark comedy to just and it feels bold and exciting, and it's a fun show. It's endlessly entertaining.
Yeah. And it doesn't pull its punches. I feel like it doesn't go, it's not unnecessarily gory or salacious when it doesn't need to be, but like the crash in the woods is very visceral, very overwhelming. And like when Coach has got like the plane wing that like fell on his leg, when all the girls band together and push it off his leg is mush. It is
liquid. It is jello.
It is gross. Oh my God. It's like an old vegetable you left in the back of your fridge. And you're like, how is this thing even still a corporeal object? That's what it's.
Old shape.
I really admired that one gross leg. That one gross leg gave me a lot of trust in this show.
God, yeah. Disgusting. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about the symbols and the forest itself. This I think is maybe one of the bigger mysteries of the show, is just what the fuck is really going on here. Because there's hints that there may be some kind of malevolent spirit in the forest, or maybe the forest itself is sentient, or maybe it's all psychological. We don't know. These symbols are carved in some of the trees. They're in the floor on the attic in the cabin. like arranged in a circle, so it looks like some kind of seance had already happened there once. I do also in the opening scene in the pilot, there are different symbols carved in the trees that look like eyes.
Yeah, it looks like they took the like natural. It's like they took the natural like knots that form in this tree and like carved them to look more pronounced like eyes.
Yeah.
And the only other time we see them is that's in Sammy's drawings, which I'm very curious about all the things that showed up in Sammy's drawings and how he would know to draw them.
Yeah. Which that we'll get to more on that, but yeah, I don't know what to believe yet of what's happening. Because I think the questions going on in my mind right now is, yes, it like, did something like this happen before? Is the old guy in the cabin the only one who's been there? Did he put those symbols there? Did someone else? Did one of the survivors put them there? I saw some theories going around that say that it's been Lottie who's been putting those symbols up because she was the first one in the attic and seemed to have been there for a little bit and could have put them there. There's that one scene where it's on the tree and you see the main group there. It's like it's far enough away that someone from the group may have been exploring and just put them there. But
well, the first time we see it is when their head coach's body is like up in the treetops right there at the crash site, and I forget which one of the girls like goes up there to like climb the tree and try and like, all right, I'm just gonna push his body off the branches. Are you guys ready down there with a tarp? Try and catch Coach, who's
Travis
dead.
Who goes up there, right?
Oh, Travis! Oh man, Travis! He used to for his dad. Oh man.
Yeah.
It's I get overwhelmed if I stop and think about how these two boys who like aren't supposed to be here, who it's just like they're there to help their dad and their dad died. They're utterly dadless. No, when he goes up there, that symbol is carved in one of those tree branches all the way up there. So maybe Lottie was copying it, but it did exist in the forest beforehand.
Good to know. So yeah, like I'm wondering then if something similar like this has happened in the past. I know when they are doing the seance, Lottie says bad things have happened here. Things plural. I think so. It's not just the skeleton that they found in the attic, right? Like multiple bad things have happened there. So I'm wondering if like maybe it's a story, of some like malevolent spirit, some woman who was maybe out there and had gotten raped and then like killed all of the people that did it to her, and she has this like angry malevolent spirit that I don't know. Just like it's just weird.
I have a lot of questions about the crash itself.
Sure.
Because when all the girls are getting on the plane in New Jersey, where they're from, like you do hear the pilot say over the intercom, like, they're going from New Jersey to Seattle, where the national championships is. And the pilot's like, our flight path has taken us a little bit north. I think we're still going to be able to avoid the storms that are there around the Ontario border, and we'll see how the trip goes. But then when you see the actual crash, the skies outside look perfectly clear. Like, I don't see evidence of, they did not crash during a storm. Like, I don't see storm. He only mentioned storm.
They're probably, like you said, they're avoiding the storm. Like they're trying to go around it. But that's the thing. Like he just says, like we have to just go a little bit to the north. It seems like they went a bit to the north.
Right. I'd have to look at a map of North America to figure out. I mean, maybe it's true and it does make sense how you would go through Ontario between Jersey and Seattle. Yeah, I just have questions about specifically why the plane crashed. What was the deal there? It's something nobody really looks further into. When their plane crashes, none of the girls ask, what happened? Why did the plane crash? And I think part of it is also that the main point of view character through whom we see the turbulence in the airplane going down through the crash is Shauna, who's just woken up from like sleeping off a Xanax. So I understand we don't have the most reliable and aware narrator, but I'm really hoping for another view of that crash because that itself is mysterious to me.
I want to know more about the crash and what caused it, but I also feel like at the end of the day, it's probably not going to be much. It might just be it might just happen to be that they went over whatever this mysterious forest is, and sentient alien elder god forest was just like, give me that plane.
Like is I believe the theory put forth by the show that there's something about the land that they're on that does not want them to leave. Because that's what happens with Laura Lee. She gets in the plane, she is able to fly the plane, and she's got her little teddy bear there, her like comfort object, her totem, this source of power for her. She like puts the teddy bear in the seat next to her like that's her co-pilot. Like, it's you and me, Butter, we're gonna fly our way out of here. And she's flying over the lake, and it's really working, and she thinks she's going to do it, she's going to save them. And she glances over at the teddy bear, and the teddy bear just lights into flames. The plane does not light up in flames.
Yeah, exactly.
The teddy bear does, and catches the plane on fire. That is such a clear signal to me of, this area you're in is cursed. The curse can make a teddy bear light on fire. This was not any error with you or the plane. This is magic. And that's something like the girls on the ground can't see. They don't know. They're never going to know. This force isn't going to let Laura Lee or anybody else out of here.
Yeah.
So maybe it was like,
that.
I'm not sure why they flew that north. I'm looking at a map. Why would you be all the way up in Ontario? That seems wildly inefficient. But
who knows?
Yeah, who knows why they flew that high, but if they did fly that high for some innocuous reason, that forest, that took them down. Forest is like, it's like the beast. It's like, look, if you're going to come to my castle, I'm going to imprison you in my castle. Should have just stayed away altogether.
So here's another one of my theories that kind of branches off of that. Lottie. What's the deal with Lottie? So we see before they get on the plane, in the pilot, there's a quick scene where she's at home and she takes some medicine. Yeah. That medicine is supposedly one that's commonly used to treat schizophrenia. So it's one of those things. Is she schizophrenic? Is that just what the doctors think it is? Is she some kind of is she possessed by something? And so I'm also wondering if something like this has happened before to curse that forest or whatever. I'm wondering if Lottie's maybe a descendant of someone who was in there. Either that was like her great grandmother, or if she was adopted. I don't know. We're not really sure with that. I guess that, I mean, it's not something that was really brought into question if she was adopted or not, but just like I'm wondering it, like she seems to have some kind of connection to this space. She's always seemed to have this kind of weird, uncanny ability to sense things, this kind of clairvoyance, predict the future thing. But I feel like, it's gotten a lot stronger in the forest to the point where she starts speaking in tongues and is sacrificing a bear heart to the. I think when they pray, I think she prays to the gods of dirt and sky. And it's just like it's really interesting, some of the stuff there. So there's something up with her. And then, of course, the finale, we know that she is also one of the survivors. She seems to have some kind of cult or some like
Yeah.
small following based on this symbol.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what that means exactly or stuff like that.
Yeah.
She seems like she's going to be a threat or a problem in season 2.
The Lottie was a surprise for me because we do see her taking this medicine, and I look closely at the bottle to see if this is a real medicine. Can I Google what it's supposed to be for?
I only figured that out from watching a YouTube video that was like, yeah, we looked at the thing and it says this and that means blah, blah. I was like, okay, cool.
When the plane crashes, there's an immediate problem of, even if you don't know what it is, this girl takes medicine every day. She's going to run out of the medicine. So I'm thinking this is going to be some sort of medical or psychological issue that they're going to have to deal with out here in the woods. I thought of it strictly as another logistical survival problem. So when it turns out that she has psychic premonitions and her dad's like, I think you're mentally ill and I'm going to get you taken care of and put you on medicines. You don't have weird episodes like this because I do care about you and I don't want you to be feel hurt. Yeah. The psychic premonitions showing up, this show, I'm trying to get a handle on what supernatural things are in play and which aren't. Like, that was something I had trouble wrapping my head around. Like, what elements are on the table? What can I expect might be involved and what isn't? Because at first I was thinking, this is a place. Everything is tied to this place, this patch in the woods. Definitely this place is magic and supernatural. But these girls all came from normal lives beforehand, right? No, Lottie's a psychic. Thaisa had that. I did like that series of flashbacks where she's talking to her grandmother on her deathbed when she's a little girl. God. And her grandmother was like, this man with no eyes is going to come for me as this like specter of death. I'm like, okay, even outside of magic and supernatural, I can believe in a specter of death as like a spiritual entity. Sure, you've got one of those, but there's so many things getting thrown into the pot, and I'm just not sure like how they all tie together yet.
That's the thing. I don't know if they all will, but I think we will understand them to an extent, because I think a theme of this show is all about how different people deal with trauma and stuff like that, and the relationships formed because of it or the ones ruined because of it, stuff like that. And so I think, yes, this trauma is manifesting in or the way they cope with it and the way they deal with it, the way they tackle it, the way they think about it, the way they interact with it is different for every person. Right? That's why Lottie might not actually have these like psychic. I mean, because I've had like deja vu dreams, right, and stuff like that. I know a lot of people do. I've had one where when the deja vu happened, I remember me having that dream like 2 years before.
Ooh.
But it doesn't happen often, right? Like I'm not saying like I'm clairvoyant too, like haha, it's real. But like it is a thing that like maybe in the early to mid 90s, yeah, like they wouldn't have they would have just been like, yep, just drug her up, right? Like just put her on all sorts of stuff without really dealing with like, hey, you might have some issues here. You might have some mental illness that you need to deal with in a different way other than medicine.
Yes. Yeah.
And then, right, she interacts with Laura Lee, who has such a devout faith that everyone is just, they don't understand, but they let her have. They're just like, she does her own thing there. We'll just let her do her own thing. And just the nature of Lottie's the way she sees the world, right? She has an odd connection to Lorelei in the sense of like, hey, I'm having things happen to me that I don't
Yeah.
understand, and I know your faith talks about that stuff. Um, yeah, and I think there's just all it like all of that goes to say I don't know if this will all coalesce into one like, and here it is with a bow. There's your answer.
Right.
It,
Yeah.
it just might be like, well, maybe it was this, but we didn't really answer.
Yeah. I think the show is leaning. Everything Lottie has said so far seems like it has been coming true. Like when Thaisa and her little band of explorers set out to, we're just going to walk south until we find something. And she warns them about like a flash, like a red river. And they find this river where it's running red, like it's iron deposits or something. And then she warns them of red smoke. And then like the wolves are attacking, and Thaisa like tries to shoot them away with the flare gun, which ends up hurting Van. Everything that she said so far has leaned towards being pretty true. And I think I'd be a little bit more intrigued if it was fuzzier, if it was a little bit more subjective, if it was less clear that, oh, this character has psychic premonitions. If it was more of a question like, I truly cannot tell if this is a magic thing or a psychological thing.
What we need is to see her get stuff wrong.
Yes.
That I think will then start to bring in the like, wait, is she just guessing? Because just saying red smoke, like she might know that there is a flare gun in here, and she may have seen one in a movie or, you know, something like that, and just knows, hey, at some point we're gonna use this.
Yeah.
That just says something. I don't know why, but yeah, there's a lot of mystery around her and her connection to this space.
Yeah. And we don't get to know her very well before she starts to get weird. To have her be one of these major focal points of the show and its mythology and its plot maneuverings. I wish there was a little bit more contrast between like the Lottie that the girls knew from soccer and this villainous cult leader, Lottie.
Right, yeah. Or potential cult leader. I guess we don't really know what she's up to yet. So the other thing I kind of want to say, I want to talk a little bit more about the cabin. I have a feeling that someone signaled them to the cabin rather than the light just bouncing off the window. That cabin is dirty and dusty and foggy, and it's just like that, and it's surrounded by trees that would get in the way of the window, which could potentially explain the flashing of the light.
Yeah.
But I've seen reflections on windows and stuff like that. That's not, I don't know. I don't believe that that's how it works. I really feel like someone drew them to the cabin, which then I think raises questions about the importance of the cabin, all of that stuff. And yeah, these weird symbols in the attic arranged in a circle. There was a theory I saw going around of that. What if the cabin, or maybe more specifically the attic, is like some kind of portal somehow, some way, because again, that circle of the, you know,
portals are usually circles.
Stuff. But when everyone is tripping balls except for Jackie, the first thing that Travis says is, but we disappeared, right?
Yeah.
Where are we? And then when all the girls come into the cabin, one of the first things they say is, but we're not really here, are we? And so it's like, yes, I know you're tripping balls, but those are just like odd, like there's this odd connection of stuff like that. So who knows? It might be some, because that's also where Lottie got possessed, and that's also where Thais, as far as we know, that's where her sleepwalking started, She was the one to volunteer to sleep up there.
Yeah.
So is it a portal to hell, some other dimension, something? Who knows? I have no idea. But I just thought that was interesting, that it was just, this lone cabin out in the woods, these mysterious symbols in there, and just all the bullets they need.
Yeah, I'm very curious about the setting they're in, particularly because it doesn't seem like there's much that they can do that they're there, while they're there. Because, like, if there were books or something in the cabin, I think by this point somebody would have gone through them and said, like, hey, I found a journal about the history of this cabin. I don't think they have the resources to learn more about where they are while they're there. And nobody in 2021 times has mentioned, like, after we got out, I looked into that patch of land. I tried to look into the history to find out what had happened there before. Maybe somebody has, and they just haven't brought it up. That's also an area of mystery of what things have happened to the girls that they just...
So, like, since they've been back in the 25, like, we know there's been books written about them. Has other people gone there to investigate?
Yeah. And, like, what did they learn when they got out of there? I think it says, I'd have to double check the exact language, but I think, like, some news blurb or something in episode 1 says, like, they were rescued. How were they rescued? Who rescued them? Why did it take 19 months? I'm curious what that story is of the rescue itself. And it's not clear who all got out. We know we've got our main 4 ladies we're following. Travis got out and, like, seems like he largely disappeared for much of his adult life. Lottie shows up. It's not clear if, like, did they know Lottie was out there? Who made it out? Who are our Oceanic 6 of this situation? Right. Are there people that did get out that, like Travis, they disappeared, or maybe somebody got out and died. Maybe Coach made it out and died 2 years later. We don't know. We don't know who everybody in the survival group is, and everybody who died before then.
Like, are there survivors still there?
I'm going to tell you what I spent. Like, I spent the whole season thinking we are spending a lot of time with Jackie for her to not be also one of these characters we're following in 2021. Outside of those 4 characters who we do see in contemporary times, and we've got these 2 sides of, she's the next character we spend a lot of time with. And I was wondering as the season went on that maybe they left her for dead and she wasn't dead. And in the final episode of the season where they go to that high school reunion, and that, like, one girl who was in the team and broke her leg, or Taissa broke her leg, like 2 days before they were supposed to get on the plane, and she's like has this, like, weird connection to them, and she's like, we all went through something when the Yellowjackets disappeared. When there's that whole celebration there at the reunion, I kept expecting Jackie to be behind something. Like, I could tell, like, Jeff's not cheating on Shauna. Jeff is up to some sort of business dealing. Maybe Jeff's behind the blackmail, but I didn't think he was working alone. I was wondering if maybe, like, Jackie got out and got back in touch with Jeff, and, like, they've been working on this together. And when they're there at that high school reunion, there's somebody in a Yellowjacket mascot costume, and I'm like, they're going to take the head off, and that's Jackie under there. She's been hiding in plain sight. Yellowjackets, Jackie, think about it.
I don't know about that one. Here's
what a twist that would be to take off the mascot head, and that is somebody.
Sure, right? Yeah, it's Coach, right? It's Javi, because we don't know what happened to Javi. He just wandered off.
He didn't even wander off. The last time we saw him, he's just lying there on the ground, staring up at the stars. And then, I don't know, did the log roll over on him?
Yeah. Who knows?
A bear just picked him up, and an eagle scooped up Javi. He lives in a bird's nest now. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So, speaking of Jackie, have you heard the popular theory about her and about how she may be a time traveler?
Kyle, we saw that original tweet from Patrick Klepek. You sent me that.
Okay.
I have not talked to any.
Like,
I don't know
all of that stuff.
No,
so,
no. I only know Yellowjackets like through you. I don't know anybody else who's been watching it right now.
Apparently, in the scene where Shauna goes to their house, Shauna and Jeff go to eat breakfast with Jackie's parents, and Shauna ends up wandering into Jackie's old room that has been kept exactly like it was back in the day. They look in one of her journals, and one of the pages in there is like movies I've seen this year. Well, yeah. According to the dates of like when they flew and all that stuff, there's a movie on that list that she shouldn't have been able to see yet. Like, is not out yet. Do you know
which one it was?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I know you can look it up. I think there's a few other things out there that people have been like, well, maybe she's a time traveler. I don't know. There is also the weirdness of when in the finale she's having her like death dream, and there's that mysterious character who's in the back there. Did you pick up on that?
I thought that might have been Coach Martinez.
It wasn't. Coach was so it's not. So in the credits he's listed as Hunter. But we don't know if that's his
that
name.
Guy. That's that skeleton.
We don't know. We don't know if that's a name, if that guy is named Hunter, or if that's his profession. He is just credited as like Hunter.
Yeah.
Because they're out in the woods here. It's just, we don't know who he is, but he's also briefly in the like opening credits. Like there's a flash of him in that, just as there's a flash of the no-eyed man in the opening credits.
I gotta say briefly, I love the opening credits. Those are so fun. I dig that that's like this big aesthetic melting pot where they pile in everything they've been dealing with in this show. And I love the one shot that is Jackie, 90s. And then there's like a VHS warp, and then she's got like a ghoul face.
Yeah. So yeah, like people are potentially theorizing that she's a time traveler. I think that's a stretch. I was just like, I don't think so. I think she is actually dead, and just like that was it. Because I think like that. I think her death is the emotional crux, like of when the trauma really started to be real for everyone here, because they had just had that wild bad trip. And then, yeah, like a day or two after that is when like they basically kick her out of the group, and she freezes to death. But it is such an emotional moment for Shauna that I think that's really gonna be like an important emotional turning point for them in that show. That I think it has to be what it is that we saw. Yeah. She's dead. I get the feeling that the narrative's not done with her yet, though. I don't know. And like her freezing overnight may not be lethal. There are stories of people who come back from that. And I was wondering, maybe Shauna knows. Jackie told me this once. If she died, she wanted to be sent down a river. That meant a lot to her. So we're gonna build like a little raft made out of sticks. It snowed a lot, but the river's still running. It's not frozen. We'll put her on the raft of sticks. Goodbye, Jackie. And she floats away and defrosts and wakes up somewhere and realizes that her friends left her for dead, and she's been on the hunt somewhere. I don't know. It sounds ridiculous, but everything in the show is ridiculous. Like, I don't know what theories are too wild. Time travel might not be too wild. We don't know yet. Happened and Lost. We weren't expecting that for a while.
Exactly.
I guess we kind of were, but still, like, yeah, we don't know all of that stuff. But yes, I have seen mention of the creators and the showrunners trying to figure out creative ways to bring the character back in other seasons. We don't know what that means. It might be one of those things where like I think we saw in The Leftovers, right, where like the character is
Yes.
like is there in the scene, but only, for example, maybe only Shauna can see her and like talk with her and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It might be that thing. And yeah, again, we don't know who Hunter is, but Hunter has one speaking line. He's the one that is like, "We've been waiting for you," which is just ominous.
Yeah.
So we don't know if she knew him, if he knew her, if it's some rando, if it is the guy that was upstairs in the attic. Is he a ghost? Is he like, what's happening here? We don't know. But that, yeah, just I don't put it past this show to be like, yes, there is more than two sides to this thing. There might be Lottie and her cult. There might be Van and her cannibals that decided to stay out there. There might be Shauna and the
Van's
survivors.
with Team Lottie. You saw her at the end.
Oh, right, yeah, but like that was just at that moment there. We don't know if in 2 months does she decide to leave at her own thing. Right.
Another mystery is that this cannibalistic ritual we see at the beginning of the show. Everybody is so like, there's a girl running. The girl they kill, I'm not exactly clear who that is based on like skin tone and hair. It might be Olivia. We don't know. There's a couple girls on this, like in this group of survivors who like, I'm not sure if I know what your name is or any of your defining personality traits. Yeah, like we see them, they speak, they're part of the group, but we have not been personally introduced. Like that first scene. No, I just want to say also that like in that first scene, also everybody's so covered in furs. The only person I think the only people you clearly know are there, like, are our survivors. It's like Misty's definitely there, Shauna's there. But everybody else, we don't know when it is or who's there or like exactly what is happening. I do really like that is the first thing you see, and then you get practically no other explanation. You just have to live with that.
And the creators said for a lot of that opening scene when you can't really tell who's who, they said they used body doubles as to like not spoil things, to be like, oh, that's obviously this actor, right? It's just vague enough where it's like, it could be them, but it might not be. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was going to say about the girl who dies, the pit girl, as they've been calling her, because we don't know who it is. She also has on the necklace that Shauna gave to Jackie.
Jackie gave to Shauna, and then Shauna gave it back to her. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So just an interesting detail of just like, how did she have that? When did she get that? Did she take it off of Jackie's body? Does that? Who knows? Does Shauna take it back and then Shauna gives it to someone else? I don't know. But yeah, there's some interesting things with that. You mentioned there. Well, I guess that we see when Lottie is making the sacrificing the bear heart in that like tree stump thing that we see there, and we see behind each of her shoulders, we see Van, and we also see Misty. So that raises an interesting question for modern day Misty, who seems to be helping Shauna and Ty and Natalie, like all of them that are there. I seems to be helping is like a loose air quotes thing, but it raises the question of, is she actually working for Lottie in this and we just don't know it yet? Because she goes as far as killing the fixer that Ty hired to keep all the other survivors in line, just to like see who might be talking to like help her, in the polls there. So it's just, Misty is such a mystery, and she's such a wild card. It's ridiculous.
I think one of the finest bits in this show, the equivalent to the walkabout moment in Lost, where it's like, this is your first major twist, like after all the setup in the pilot itself. This is something like so sharp that you're like, if I wasn't hooked before, now I'm hooked. Like, you have sold me. This makes the other stuff look like an appetizer, and this is the entree. Is the end of episode 2, where immediately after the crash, Misty's got her first aid training. She snaps into focus. She's like helping everybody. And she's been this like misfit. She's like the equipment manager. None of the girls overtly tease her, but you can tell like she's not included. They don't really like her. She's just there. She's been sort of ignored and teased her whole life. And she's out in the woods and she finds the like black box beacon of the plane that's been thrown away from the rest of the wreckage. She picks it up and then, two other girls walk past where she can hear them and they're like, I gotta hand it to Misty. Like, we truly would not be surviving out here without Misty. And she has this moment.
Finally wanted and needed.
Set to Wilson Phillips's Hold On, an excellent use of music, where she looks at the box, realizes this is her chance to really be the shining star she's always wanted to be, and she destroys that box.
Yep, and like, that's why no one is coming to save them. Yep.
Right. That is such a wild twist. And we don't know if anybody ever learns that. Nobody's made mention to it. If anybody ever put that together, if she ever told anybody. We also haven't seen the point at which if she regrets that. Later on in the season, there are moments where she's sad or she's scared, but we don't get a moment with her that looks like, oh, I've truly killed all of us. I regret what I did now. I got my chance in the limelight, but now we're all gonna die. She might not. Exactly.
She's kind of fucking psychotic. Like she cause I think that's why she kills that fixer, why she like the survivors still go to her, right? When Alex dies and they have to figure out how to get rid of the body. Oh yeah. When he dies and they have to figure out like, oh shit, now what do we do? Like, they don't really have any good ideas. They don't mention Misty, but Natalie, I think, is the one that just like, look, fuck it, we need Misty, like, and just goes and gets her, and so like they still need it. Like, she's made it so that Misty, that she herself is still needed in case of emergencies. And that's something that if she's still in that position, she does not regret it one bit.
Yeah, she is wily. I was so pleased when we saw at the end of episode 1 that, like, when you first see her, you think Misty is going to be the Barb of the show. Like, she's going to go down early. I expected everyone to be like she would die early and everyone would be like, oh, Misty, justice for Misty. I like Misty. Was not expecting her to be the villain of the entire piece. Yep. I think that's a great choice. Yeah, I am fascinated at everything that these characters become in the meantime between when we've seen them in 96 and when we see them in 2021.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to move back to Shauna a bit here. I have a specific question about this. So when we learn that it is Jeff, her husband, that is the one blackmailing them, we learn that he has figured out what happened to her because he cracked the code to the safe, looked at her journals. He now knows the story. My question to you is, does he actually know the story? Because it's one, I think those journals in that safe might be fake. I think they might be a layer of protection to be like, hey, in case anyone does actually come sniffing, here's some fake ones in an obvious place with a code to the safe that is blatantly obvious. it was the flight number. Like that's not hard to get. Like that would be like birthday. No, I guess she is famous for that. The flight number. Ding ding ding. Great. There, done. Right. I think they're fake because Jeff's reaction like murder is one thing, or spinning it in the journal of, hey, someone we really, really loved, my best friend, died, and that was the trauma that like separated our group. It depends on like how she worded it in the journal to be like, does she feel like she murdered Jackie? Does she feel guilty? Like, what exactly does she say? Does she mention the cannibalism in those journals? Because it seems like he's reacting more to like, yeah, we had some really bad stuff happened. Like a few of our team members died to ensure our survival, and we made it out. Great. And he's just like, man, that was really traumatic. I'm here for you. I understand. It's not like, oh, like you guys murdered each other and turned cannibal. Like that's a whole other conversation you need to have. That's not a like, oh honey, I understand. Like he did not react like he actually knew what happened there.
I can believe that Shauna. I can believe that Shauna did accurately to her perspective on things, write down everything that happened to them. We see that journaling is important to her. That is established. I was a bit perplexed when she pulls out all of those journals, and I thought, where did you get all of those? Maybe this was common. Maybe every teenage girl in 1996 brought a journal with them when they were going on a national trip. I don't know. Maybe it is likely that there were that many spare journals on the plane that she could take and write in. I would believe either, I think, that she has been sending a smokescreen to really hide everything that they did. But the way she asks him, like, did you read everything? And he's like, I read everything. But he mentions that he did this a while ago. Like he figured out how to crack into it. It's like months or years back. So we are seeing a Jeff that has adjusted to this knowledge. And I don't know, like
true. But even still,
I have been wondering,
no reaction. No, like she's now remembering weirdness where he had this like he now has to cope with, oh my god, she murdered someone, she ate her best friend, what's going on, I don't know, like no reaction, nothing.
We have to wonder, is there more to what these women are hiding beyond what we have already seen? That's one of my biggest questions.
I'm sure
of course they're hiding. And I think the public at large expects that they cannibalized people, which it seems like they've never admitted to. But the public expects that, oh, you were there for 19 months and this many people died out of your original flight. I bet that happened. I think that what they're hiding is definitely the fact that they murdered somebody in order to eat them. It's not like they died of another cause or that person volunteered to give up their life to be eaten. They're definitely hiding the murder. And I'm curious what else is back there. There's a gray area here where we don't know if there's yet that's going to come to light, or it's like, oh, that's in there too. They're definitely hiding that thing. So we don't know everything that there is for Jeff to react to. We don't know how Shauna wrote it. I don't like there's a
I don't doubt that she has a journal somewhere that accurately has everything, right? That makes sense because that we see her journaling all the time, all of that stuff. I just think it was just like when she said that the code to her safe was the flight number, I think that was maybe one of my bigger eye rolls. But then I was like, wait, actually, I don't know, because it felt like Spaceballs, the scene where they ask the combination and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just like that's one of the first things that I would try. with that. It just seemed too easy to get into in a place that's obvious. And so it was just like, I wonder if this is to keep people away. Like if this is just a set of fake ones there.
I think that's a very solid theory. Like we could see that happening for sure.
Yeah. So let's see, what was I going to do? Blah, 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 blah.
Another thing I want to mention that I've been pondering, especially given this first cannibalistic ritual scene that we've seen without any context. Were there other people who came to that place after them? Like maybe that girl who we can like look at the other girls in the crash and be like, I don't know, her hair's like this. Is it this girl? Maybe this is a new girl. Maybe they killed a stranger, somebody else who had a plane crash, or their ship got lost and came down river or something like that. Right. Yeah. Is this, we murdered people to eat them and we murdered complete innocent strangers.
Yeah, that might be the case. I think a big mystery is her baby.
Yes. What's the end result of this?
Baby. The baby would be about 25 right now, but nowhere to be seen. So
right, we don't know. Not mentioned, not addressed. We don't know. Does that baby ever get to be born? Does that baby get to be rescued?
It's not something that Jeff ever mentions. It's not something that their new daughter mentions. I don't even know if they know. Like, because Jeff didn't know about the first pregnancy unless it was in the journal and he found out that way. But again, no reaction from Jeff. Like, I
think there's, I can imagine, I don't know. I feel like they could, everything that you're saying, Rashana has smokescreen journals, I could buy. But I could also see season 2 premiere once they know, okay, nobody's going to pin Adam Martin's murder on us. We have a little bit of breathing room. Honey, I have to talk to you about some things. I have some concerns. Now that I know we're okay, I've got some stuff I want to work through with you. I don't know.
Yeah.
And we also have the added little plot element that her daughter now pretty much knows she murdered that guy.
Gonna be interesting one to see what happens in season 2 there. I want to move on to Ty real fast.
Yeah.
I don't think I have as much to say about her, but I find it interesting that when they're out in the cabin, she is just adamant that there's no such thing as the supernatural or magic or all that stuff. She's just like, none of it. But then we see that scene when she's young with her grandma, right? And we see the no-eyed man for the first time, which is scary as fuck. That thing was haunting. And then we see her kid when she is now an adult and running to be the state senator, that her kid seems to be familiar with the no-eyed man. He's drawing pictures of him and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if there is some kind of like family curse that maybe she actually sees it too, but she's trying to convince herself that it's not there, it's not real, and that's why she's just so stubborn of just like, no, it does not exist.
That was the impression I got, that like she kind of saw something like what her grandma was pointing out to her, and she's like, nope, no death specter, nobody coming for us, we're gonna survive.
We're not gonna deal with this guy over there. Let's just cut him off and focus over here.
Yeah, and I do kind of like the twist that her son says, oh, there's a girl in the trees watching me. And, I spent episodes
the lady
thinking,
in the
all right, it's
tree,
right, it's one of these girls who escaped. It's like Jackie. It's somebody who they left for dead, or like thought, oh, that person, they got out with us, but I haven't seen them in 25 years. I don't know where they are. I think they just started a new life somewhere in like Ohio or whatever. But to learn that is like Thaisa when she's sleepwalking, I think is an interesting twist. And it's not clear if she has told her son these stories and he's illustrating what she's told him, or how else he would know to draw things like all the eyes on the trees.
Yeah. And if she is in the tree watching him, like, is she saying stuff to him? Is she communicating with him? So, like, what is she telling? Like, what exactly? I mean, we do now see that she has this like secret room down in the basement that has this shrine with their dead dog's head and heart,
Poor
and
Biscuit.
then the doll that the kid really liked there. It seems like she's sacrificing her child's happiness, the stuff that the kid really liked, to further her political career. Because when she finds out she wins the race, it's not like, oh my god, I won, oh my god. She goes like full on smirk of just like, like, there we go. That's brand new, powerful, like, seems like something is taking control of you here.
I've been pondering that moment, that I think she genuinely doesn't think she's going to win. How could she have won? She didn't do any campaigning. She just talked into the kitchen with her wife. We didn't see any campaigning this whole season.
Yeah.
But yeah, she didn't think she would win, and to find out that she's won, she's sort of like stunned, sort of surprised, and like kind of sad, because I think there is a real conflict in her with like, I put my heart in to win the Senate race, and I think like on the news they say this is the first Black woman elected to the Senate in New Jersey, a queer Black woman. Like, I can imagine that her as an individual and her seeing herself as like a representation for other people, wants herself to be there, realizes the good that she can do when she's in the office, and is very conflicted about that versus her relationship with her wife and her son. And I don't know if that smirk is like, ha ha ha, and my plan, it worked, or if it's just sort of a, well, now that I can believe that it's real, I can think about what I can do once I'm in office, and I can find satisfaction in that. I don't know if what we are seeing edited together with her smiling is what she's smiling about, because it's not clear if that little shrine she's made in the basement is something she's even consciously aware of. We don't know if that's waking Thaisa or sleeping Thaisa. Right.
I think, she does not necessarily remember what she does when she's sleepwalking, but she's aware that she sleepwalks. Is the thing, 'cause she will wake up in a tree having stolen the like bone thing and the flare gun. She's just like, what the fuck? Or like wakes up outside her house covered in dirt and blood and a big bite mark in her hand there. Like, she knows it's happening, but I don't think she necessarily knows like all of the stuff that she has done. So I'm wondering if this other side of her, this other personality, is scheming, is starting to become smarter and like learning to hide things better, or who knows what. But I'm interested to see, because like that, when we mentioned her at the start of this podcast, and we were like, this whole thing of her running for Senate, and Shauna comments on that of like, that's not low profile. Like, it's something that Shauna recognizes of as like, that's not necessarily out of character, but just like out of our kind of agreement of what we did. So it does seem like there could be this other side of her that is manipulating her or driving her to do this thing or set things up so it happens easier. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm curious what she will do once she is in Senate. Like, I can imagine all sorts of personal things she may want, but what is she going to do as senator that is significant to our plot?
Yeah, is there some kind of agenda, ulterior motive for her to change some law or something. I don't know.
Yeah, now that she's gotten there, what is the larger plot of weird things going on back in Ontario going to do with this?
Yeah.
I also want to say I'm really rooting for her and her wife. Like, I like their relationship. I like their little family unit. I hope that survives. The scene in, I think, like I don't know, episode 7 or 8, where she like confronts her wife, like, I know I've been sleepwalking again. I think I'm dangerous. I want you to leave. I love you. I want you to leave. And it's her begging her wife to leave, like, for your own safety. Take our son, go to your mom's, get out of here. And her wife's like trying to be like, Ty, no, like, I love you. How do we fix this? And then the next episode is like, well, my wife moved all her stuff out. Like, I feel like something's missing between like those 2 times when we see Simone.
When time is really, really strange in this show, because it feels like from them crashing the plane to going to the cabin to having the like riflery contest, all that stuff, it seems like it is a day and a half, 2 days, maybe 3 days, right? Like that it seems like it's happening all really fast. And it's like what seems like it should be day 4 or 5. They're like, it's been weeks since we've gotten meat. And I was like, but wait, you got meat just earlier in the episode, which means it's like there's been weeks in between then, and like there was some time before that then, so it's been what, like a month now that you've been there? I just don't understand. I think the show needs to address how much time is passing or when things are like, this is day 365. This is, month 2. Just every now and then. Like, you don't need it for like every scene, but like, just set me up.
Yeah. I was also like, I'm pretty sure they crashed in April or May, and that season 1 ends approximately in October. I can guess that. And I understand why they don't timestamp things like the first cannibalistic ritual scene. But like I said, that's one of the biggest mysteries for me, is that like, the time they've spent there would cover 2 winters. Is that winter 1 or winter 2? When do you get up to this? If this is winter 1, what the heck is winter 2 about? But yes, I really would appreciate if this was some framing device that the show added, or just have like somebody say, wow, I can't believe it would be Thanksgiving break right now.
Yeah. Something like that to just help us mark time and the passage of time there. But yeah, then I also, my last kind of remaining questions, we've touched most of them in just some form or another here, is I want to know more about what the public does know. What was their reaction when they got found here? Because we get the Oceanic 6 moment and the press conference in Lost, and we see how the public kind of reacts to that, and we see a little bit about how the public reacts, but it doesn't seem like I would feel like these. I mean, I don't want to say I feel like they would be famous, but I feel like they'd be pretty well known. And it almost seems like they aren't. Like, there's so many people that just don't care or don't recognize them, which I guess also makes sense. But like, I don't know. I just feel like there's something missing there. Like, we don't know exactly what they told the public.
Exactly. Like I was saying, I'm very curious about how they got out, like why it happened, when it happened, how it happened, who did
Is it only that one book? Like,
I can imagine there's several books. Yeah, I can imagine there's several books that like unauthorized looks at the
Sure.
Yellowjacket plane crash that other people have written. And I think like the story itself may be infamous to people, but they might not remember each individual girl's name or like know
Sure.
what they look like, you
That
know?
makes sense.
So I believe that Shauna's kind of flying under the radar, but then her daughter points out anybody could Google your full name and find out that stuff about you if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Thais's political opponent, like there's a shot of her like eating barbecue at like some picnic or something, and it's like Thaisa Turner, she will cannibalize our taxes or something.
Which is why I think she hires the fixer.
Yeah.
Or just there seems to be this like the campaign stuff against her. Whoever is feeding her opponent this info seems to know something about her. Maybe they're working with Lottie. Maybe they're working with Misty. I don't know. That like
I liked that fixer. I understand why she didn't live longer than she lived, but that was a good performance. She was intriguing whenever she was around.
Yeah, good stuff. I think the last bit that I want to mention, this was my eye roll moment for the show that I couldn't remember earlier on. When they're investigating Travis's death and Misty puts all the photos together so that the wax makes the symbol, and I'm just like, she just put 3 random photos together and drew the symbol that way, and it's of different space. It's like, no, that doesn't make the symbol. If you had a single picture and it was like a connect the dot thing in that single picture, but she's like overlapping pictures so that this point matches up with that one, and just like, no, that's a stretch.
Yeah, and if they can figure that out from photos, I'm like, the police there on the scene would have gotten at least some of that. They may not know the exact symbol, but somebody would have said, weird, it looks like there were candles around here earlier. Do you think that's significant?
Yep. I don't know. And yeah, it was just a little bit strange, which I think is another reason that people are expecting that Misty is still under Lottie's influence or still a follower of her, is that it was so outlandish that she happened to just stack all of these like, what if she is setting it up, right? Like, does she have more to do with Travis's death than she's mentioned? We don't know. So
there are mysteries that we're leaving this season with. Who really did kill Travis? What the heck happened to Javi? Where is he? How did those people who storm in and take Natalie?
It was Adam.
How could they? Yeah, what was there anything ulterior to that guy, or was he truly just some innocent artist who had a crush on Shauna? We don't know.
There was a theory going around that Adam was the adult version of Javi.
I was also thinking that, yes, because Javi seems like we don't see a lot of Javi. He's not even in like the main credits. He's like at the end in the
Shauna
black
gave
and
him
white
the
scroll.
paper, and then he said, I want to go do an art project. It made sense, but the creators shot it down, was like, no, we actually didn't even think of that. That's brilliant, but no.
Right. See, that's what I've been thinking. I'm like, there's somebody who was part of their group who they don't realize is still out there, or they don't realize like somebody looks wildly different. They had surgery or something like that. They've completely changed their identity. I kept expecting there's somebody they don't know hiding in plain sight. Yeah. Somebody's going to take off that Yellowjacket mascot head and somebody's back there.
Exactly. Man, God, there's so much that I want to know more. I cannot wait for season 2. It sounds like Showtime has officially announced that season 2 will be happening. They are trying to make it an annual thing, is seemingly what they are saying, because of how popular it is. I think I don't know when, but for a while it apparently was holding a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So like this show has been like critically acclaimed, and people really seem to be talking about it online and stuff like that. So they want to get season 2 out as fast as they can. And they said probably same time next year. So like November, December ish.
Oh, yeah, I'd like that. Yeah, I think this. I mean, it's mid-January now, so I think this did start, sometime in November or December. So to have that again later this year, yeah, that'd be awesome. I did enjoy this a lot, and all the issues I had with it, I think, are just like plot lines that need a little bit of logistical filling out, or you spend too much time one place and not enough time somewhere else. Like, all I want is for the scripts to just be like a little bit tighter, and I feel like that's an easy fix.
Yeah. And I think as these actors have more time with their characters, the writers have more time.
The acting is great.
Oh yeah, but just like to tighten everything up, like everything I think is gonna be good. It seems like the creators have a framework for where they want the show to go and what they want to do. I saw one site say they have a 5-season plan, but I don't know how realistic that is. And then, of course, the creators themselves was like, look, we have a framework, but the nature of the business is that things change all the time. So we don't know how much we'll stick to that framework. And then I also saw them mention that, like, we don't know what we want to do with Shauna's baby yet, but we have at least 10 options right now. So we're working on it. Like it's something we're thinking about.
I appreciate, from what I'm hearing from you, that the creators are honest about what they have planned and what they haven't.
I think especially with what happened to Lost, where they had a great initial idea and then was just like, well, now what? And they just tried to keep the momentum going, and then we're like, well, okay, well, this actor over here is really neat. Let's do more stuff with him. And they were like, well, how about you give me more money? And they were like, well, we can't. And he's like, all right, I'm out. I'm gonna go do something else then. It's like, well, shit. Now you have to go figure something else out in the script, and it's just like, I think they really need to be transparent and be like, look, we have a plan that we do have like an overall arc of like where we're trying to get to, what we want to explore, all that stuff. It might not be exactly where we want it to be by time the show does end, but hey, like, we are trying here. So kudos to them. I'm so excited about the show.
Fun. This was a treat. I love all the mysteries. I love the cast. I love all the relationships with each other. There's moments that are very funny and very sweet, or very chilling. And I love that they are, every death that we've seen so far has been like a real horror movie worthy death. And I appreciate that they put work into that. Like, nobody just falls or gets shot or something. Every death is very dramatic. And if you're going to be a show that has a high body count like this, put some spice in it. Have one of your main characters get metaphorically frozen out by your friends and then literally freeze to death, frozen in some little Jackie popsicle in a sleeping bag. That's wild. I've not seen that on TV before.
Right. Especially with what the show showed us at the start, how grisly that was. And then to just have this angelic blanket of snow at the end. And that is just as, if not more, emotional.
He can play with a lot of different things.
Yeah. Good stuff. I think that's about it. That wraps up my thoughts and my questions. I'm still trying to formulate the theories, but I don't know if we have enough to like really have a solid, like, here's a real great theory about this because here, I don't know. I just think we need more, and I want more, and I demand more now. Please and thank you.
Yeah, be patient.
Indeed. Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT, and listen to my other podcast, Saturday Morning Obscurities. This is a show I co-host with my brother James, where we talk about weird old kids shows you feel like only you remember. So if you watch this and you liked the 90s nostalgia angle of it, you can get more of it there.
There you go. Good stuff. You guys can follow me at YoKyleSpringer on Twitter. If you guys want to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do here at the Whatnauts, we are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. We are on TikTok. We just started one, so there's not much up there yet, but there is stuff up there, and it's going up weekly, or I guess multiple times in a week, but still go follow us on TikTok at the Whatnauts now that we have that up there. Yeah. I'm excited for next year whenever we get to do a spoiler cast for season 2. I do just want to give a shout out that I think I'm not sure what will be next that we do here on the show, but I know that March 30th is when Moon Knight will be premiering. So we will be covering that for sure. But yeah, maybe we'll do something on Star Wars or Peacemaker or something like that. I think we'll figure out some things in the meantime there. Yeah, I think that wraps us up for our spoiler cast on Peacemaker. Or no, I just said Peacemaker.
No, we haven't even started. We've haven't spoken about the man. No,
we have not. On Yellowjackets season 1. We hope you all enjoyed it as much as we did. And I guess let us know your thoughts on the show.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic. But with that, we will get out of here.
If you tell me any theories, you will be the first person to have told me that. I live in kind of a weird little bubble, so you can tell me anything and surprise me.
There you go. With that, we are getting out of here. We will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.